tonight on Ignite News.
Vaccine rollout continues as students working in long-term care start to receive their vaccines.
Hamilton band The Arkells have been stepping up to help local businesses during the pandemic.
The lakes may be frozen, but that isn't stopping these gentlemen from casting out and doing some fishing.
Nothing will stop these skaters as people visit the outdoor ice rink at Pier 8 in Hamilton.
I'm Katrina Rathi.
And I'm Meg Daniels.
And this is Ignite News COVID edition. The pandemic has made the school year harder for students, but some have had to juggle their studies with working in long-term care homes. These young workers have started getting vaccines to protect them and the elderly they work with. Ignite News reporter Jessica Maxwell has the story.
Hamilton area students working at long-term care and retirement homes during the pandemic have been put to the front of the line for COVID-19 vaccination. Anna Waddell, a grade 12 student who works at Heritage Place Retirement Home, was surprised by how quickly she received the vaccine.
It was very fast. I didn't expect it at all. I was kind of like shocked.
I was open to get it, but it was kind of like we are one of the first people to get this because it's so important to keep everybody safe. And I was like, oh, I want to do that.
For many students, the pandemic means dealing with Zoom calls and online learning. But for these young women, it means layers of PPE and the rush for the COVID-19 vaccine. Mohawk College PSW student Michelle Bull said the choice to get vaccinated was a no-brainer. Bull, who is currently doing a co-op placement at Hardy Terrace Long-Term Care in Brantford, said the vaccine wasn't much different from a flu shot.
I did get a little bit nauseous and sick, but there was only 2 people in my workplace that had those symptoms. Everyone else was completely fine.
For people who are skeptical about the vaccine, she said she hasn't grown any new limbs.
Well, I mean, not trying to make fun of it, but I only have 2 arms and 2 legs still, so, which was, people were saying you were going to start growing extra limbs.
Although these work experiences may not be what the college or these frontline workers had in mind, this experience will shape how these students move forward and support the workforce of our community. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Jessica Maxwell.
COVID-19 has changed the way almost all industries operate, and the journalism field is no exception. We go now to Ignite News reporter Juan Zambrano to take a look at just how much journalism has changed during the pandemic.
Tests that we've done.
Reporters and camera crews continue to cover the latest news, even as Ontario enters a state of emergency. Masks and social distancing are a required protocol on the scene. Some, like the Peterborough Examiner's Matthew Barker, are working in as normal an environment as they possibly can.
I do a lot of social issue stories with regards to marginalized communities such as homelessness, precariously housed, food insecure people. So to do that, you kind of have to be one-on-one with the people. You can't really do over the phone interviews because a lot of the homeless and precariously housed might not have a phone, right?
Some journalists are finding stories close to home, such as holiday preparations and covering local businesses. The remote work also extends to editing a news package, including voiceover and footage. The world is still unsure when things will return to normal, but news stations will continue to keep us informed for as long as they're able to. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Juan Zambrano.
A new vaccine clinic is opening in Hamilton aimed at vaccinating seniors. Dr. Elizabeth Richardson, Medical Officer of Health for the City of Hamilton, says 5,000 to 6,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine will be administered to Hamilton residents over 80. The new clinic will open March 1st at St. Joseph's West 5th campus.
Many businesses have had to close their doors for months due to COVID-19, some never to be reopened. But fast food businesses such as McDonald's have flourished during the pandemic, with their staff being deemed essential workers. Some McDonald's employees believe that they should not be considered more essential. Ignite News reporter Emmett Steele has the story.
As the alarm sounds, Barkovich climbs out of bed in the early morning. She puts on her uniform and gets herself ready for her job as an essential worker. What essential service does she provide? Emily Barkovich is a crew member working at McDonald's.
Even though we still have a lot of customers coming through on just a rotating basis there, I still do feel very safe because we're all provided masks.
Despite the measures McDonald's is taking to keep its customers and employees safe, Barkovich and many other McDonald's employees feel like the services they provide aren't exactly essential.
I honestly don't feel like I am an essential worker. I honestly don't think that McDonald's should be considered an essential service. I understand we provide food.
Though these workers feel their services aren't essential, people like Barkovich still risk their health every day by serving the public during this pandemic. Whether or not you think the fast food workers are essential, they're working hard for all of us during this pandemic. Give them a thank you the next time you get your morning coffee. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Emmett Steele.
Thanking essential workers for risking their health during this pandemic will make them feel more appreciated and will make them feel like they matter to their customers.
Local businesses in Hamilton are being pushed into the spotlight as Hamilton band The Arkells have started promoting Hamilton-owned stores and restaurants on their social media. The band has remained passionate about supporting business in their hometown. Ignite News reporter Megan Daniels has the story.
Local businesses and essential workers have been given the support they need by the notorious Arkells. The Hamilton-based rock band has been an advocate for essential workers since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and have shown their support through promoting and donating to local businesses throughout the Hamilton area. Max Kerman, the lead vocalist and guitarist for the Arkells, has recently taken over TikTok to advocate shopping local in hopes to reach a wider audience who are looking to help others during this difficult time.
I mean, as soon as we can get out there again, go to your local venue. They need all of our support. And in the meanwhile, go to your favorite restaurants and get takeout.
The advocacy by the Arkells has not gone unnoticed. Kiana Cluck, who the Arkells have dubbed their Prime Minister Arkillian, shared her voice on how the Arkells are making an impact in the community and her support for the band.
Hey, I can speak to what the Arkells do here in the GTA. They're really big supporters of like local businesses, whether it be coffee shops or restaurants to get takeout. And I think that's like a big reason why like I love them so much outside of music is they're just like always so front and center in terms of like local organizations and really giving back to the community.
With the Arkells using their platform to support shopping local, one can only hope that the owners of these essential businesses will soon see the light at the end of the tunnel and come out on the other side of this pandemic standing on 2 feet. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Megan Daniels.
A super important message from the Arkells there. We should all be doing what we can to support local businesses throughout the pandemic.
Families from all over Hamilton are gathering to enjoy the winter weather and the frozen lake at Princess Point. The ice over the lake measured at 11 centimeters thick on Monday, just over the 10 centimeter threshold required for it to be open to the public. A spokesperson for the Royal Botanical Gardens warns that skaters are free to use the ice at their own discretion.
Coming up, we hit the ice with our fishing rods and get down with some furry friends.
Ice skaters from all over the GTA have been coming to Hamilton to use the Pier 8 ice rink throughout the second lockdown. Ignite News reporter Taryn Ullock has the story.
We're here at the Pier 8 ice rink in Hamilton where people are taking advantage of the chilly weather to get some fresh air while ice skating. The ice rink at Hamilton's Pier 8 is one of the few outdoor facilities in the surrounding region that is still open to the public in spite of Ontario's stay-at-home order. Zamboni operator James Bryant says locals aren't the only ones who are taking to the ice.
It's surrounding cities. We're even getting people from Mississauga. Well, this batch was all 905s, which is very rare to get a Hamiltonian.
Jessica Hansen, a skater at the rink, says keeping the ice open gives people the opportunity to stay busy without being stuck inside.
They've shut everything down that's inside, which makes the most sense, but this is safe because it's outside, so I feel like it just gives people something to do, right?
The rink is open on a first-come, first-served basis and allows 25 skaters per hour, falling short of their regular 300-person capacity. Bryant says Pier 8 is taking the necessary precautions to follow health and safety guidelines.
If you notice, our lines are 12 feet, where the government said 6 feet. We do 12 feet because some people show up in groups, and by the time you measure it out, they're not 6 feet apart.
The government is extending stay-at-home orders for Ontario residents, but the rink has had no problem staying open and does not plan on closing. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Cara Nickerson.
Socially distanced skating sounds like a great way to get outside and get some fresh air and some exercise, something we've all been missing this past year.
The pandemic lockdown has given many people the opportunity to try out new hobbies. From jogging to knitting to reading comic books, people are discovering passions they never had the time for before. Ignite News reporter Matthew Mastromateo has the story.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect the world, many individuals have taken up hobbies to combat boredom and keep their spirits high. Fiona Hart says taking up knitting has allowed her to express her creativity in a less stressful manner.
Because it's still like creating things and I love making things. Like, I play guitar and, I draw and write songs and stuff, but this is a lot less taxing. So it's more like an unwinding of even like my regular unwinding.
Although indoor activities are more common, outdoor exercise has also increased. Fletcher Goodergram says COVID-19 inspired him to take more care in his physical health and well-being.
I actually started running because of COVID. Because before that, for like a couple months, I was doing keto, and because I was doing keto, I wanted to get in better shape. But then when COVID hit, I stopped working because I was working at the theater. So obviously, theaters can't be like continuing to thrive as they were. So they shut down for a while. So I just had to do some of my time, and that was running.
Graham says running got him through the first few months of lockdown.
It was for a while, because it was really nice doing a 1 hour and a half run, like all the time.
Despite lockdowns, Canadians still find ways to better themselves. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Matthew Mastromateo.
I know my hobby has helped keep me going during lockdown, and I hope all of your hobbies have as well.
We make waste every day, and how we sort that waste determines what ends up in the landfill and what gets reused. Organizing your garbage can feel like a big hassle, especially if you don't know what goes where. Not sure where to put a styrofoam container? How about an empty candle? A piece of used tinfoil? Or a cup you accidentally broke? The City of Hamilton has its own search engine called Ask Milo, where you can find the answers to all of these questions and more. Instead of tossing everything into the garbage, take a moment to ask Milo where things belong. You can also pick up a lot of other tips like these. Undyed paper with black ink is compostable and can be used to collect scraps while you cook. However, leaflets like these, with glossy pages and colored ink, aren't compostable and can be put into the recycling bin. Hamilton's compost system is state-of-the-art, and by stepping up your composting, you're decreasing your footprint and creating new, nutrient-rich soil. Make sure that all of your recyclables are rinsed out before you put them into the blue bin. And cut down on the amount of plastic containers that you use by buying in bulk and storing them in old containers you've rinsed out. Straws and plastic cutlery aren't recyclable, and they should be thrown into the trash. Everything you throw away has a designated place, and by putting a little extra thought into where you're putting things, you can stop wasting your waste. From Ignite News, I'm Cara Nickerson.
Learning how to properly use Hamilton's waste systems is a great way to not only educate yourself, but to also help the City of Hamilton.
Coming up, we need to talk about how people are causing unnecessary panic that puts the health and wellness of our communities at risk. So stay tuned.
This year's Hamilton's Coldest Night of the Year walk was done a little differently. The walk, run by Family Services nonprofit Neighbor to Neighbor, was held virtually. Volunteers were able to raise money and carry out their walks in socially distanced bubbles around their own neighborhoods. The fundraiser earned over $100,000 for this year's Hamilton's Mountain Walk.
Cold weather and thick ice can't stop these fishermen from casting their lines. Lakes in Hamilton have become ice fishing spots as locals take advantage of the cold weather to set up on the ice. Ignite News reporter Ali Penders has the story.
Locals are making the most out of the Canadian winter and extra free time during Ontario's lockdown. Local lakes remain open for outdoor activities, and thanks to some cold nights, most ponds and lakes in the area have 5 to 7 inches of solid ice, giving fishing fans of all ages and skill levels a chance to break out their ice fishing gear without having to make a trip north. Tony Penders is an avid fisherman that has lived in the area his whole life. Only just this year he got out onto local ice for the first time thanks to COVID-19. He says that because he wasn't able to take his annual fishing trips up north, he started visiting local spots like Little Lake. While the catches aren't near as big or as often as those up north on the lake, Pender says that it is just nice to feel like you have something to do. In Ontario, all individuals between 18 and 65 need a valid outdoors card and fishing license to fish legally. Interested parties can choose from a 1 or 3 year and a conservation or sport license. Those looking to try it for a day can opt to purchase a 1-day sport license. For more information, visit www.ontario.ca/fishing. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Ali Penders.
The City of Hamilton is launching a series of socially distanced story walks. The city will hang storybook pages throughout parks and trails around the city. Families will be able to read the pages as they exercise and explore the outdoors. Story walks have already been set up in a number of parks surrounding recreation centers such as Dundas Park, Stony Creek Recreation Center, and the Ancaster Rotary Center.
McMaster University is working with the Child Welfare Political Action Committee of Canada in a project to help foster children access university education more easily. The university will offer free tuition to 20 current or former foster children through the New Tuition Initiative. There will be no age limits for those who wish to apply.
Whether we're waking up in the morning or coming home from work in the evening, our pets are always there for us. For many during the lockdown, pets became their closest companion and kept them company when no one else could. Ignite News reporter Mac Flett has the story.
Despite the combination of cold weather, cabin fever, and January blues, it's still a great time to be a pet owner.
Though the regional stay-at-home order remains in effect throughout the GTHA, many residents in the city are coping with the stress of lockdown by bonding with their favorite furred companions.
Whether burning off some energy, spending some time goofing around on camera for the entertainment of their human housemates, or just cuddling up to their caretakers, many pets have taken on the impromptu role of emotional support animal, including ones like this little fella, Disco. I had a chance to catch up with his owner, Drew McDougall, to talk about how Disco has helped him navigate the ups and downs of life under lockdown.
This cat has lived in 7 countries. He is my life. He is my constant connection and understanding of the world. On some days, I feel like this cat is the only thing that I can do right. And even just for that, in a time like this, it's really nice to have something that is predictably positive.
It's exactly that kind of positivity and emotional connection that so many people are finding themselves longing for these days. And it's also something pet owners everywhere can agree they're lucky to have. For Ignite News, I'm Mac Flett.
In the digital age, it's difficult sometimes to understand the difference between fact and opinion. Correspondent Jessica Maxwell wants to set some things straight about misinformation and the coronavirus pandemic.
Much of this past year had people spending their time frustrated and confused due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only were stay-home orders enough to drive you stir-crazy, but the spread of misinformation around the vaccine has ignorance and fear at an all-time high. This damaging stream of fake news is causing distrust in government bodies and science in general. Social media pages are flooded with misinformation that people don't care to verify themselves. Everyone's Uncle Bob is suddenly a vaccine expert via the almighty post button. Keyboard warriors are poised on their porcelain thrones, ready to force misinformation on anyone with a differing opinion. So what actually happens when you get the Pfizer or Moderna vaccination against the novel coronavirus? Well, it's not like most vaccines, which use a small, dormant part of the virus to teach your body to produce antibodies. Instead, an mRNA teaches your body to produce a protein which activates the body's immune response. It's more complicated than that, but the point is you're not being injected with COVID. So no, you won't grow any extra fingers or toes, and there will be no microchip administered by the government. People think they can just ignore COVID-19 and it'll go away. It's crazy to think that we're coming up on almost a full year living with this virus, and it's clear this is our new normal. If people don't learn to accept the vaccine, many more could die. People are causing unnecessary panic that puts the health and wellness of our communities at risk. All the information circulating about the vaccine can be confusing, but if you're still not sure, do your homework. Take time to check out verified resources like Health Canada and the Government of Canada website, and encourage that coworker or family member to do the same. If we can take time as a community to embrace COVID common sense, we will find a faster and safer route back to a life that we're more used to. For Mohawk College Journalism, I'm Jessica Maxwell.
Mohawk College is still hosting plenty of online events to help students interact, learn, and prepare for the future. We go now to Ignite News reporter Mac Flett with more details in the Mohawk Minute.
The Student Leadership Games are coming to Mohawk College virtually on March 8th. 2 teams will work against each other on challenges designed to help develop leadership and critical thinking skills. Winners will receive a virtual pizza party and a $250 grand prize. Hussam El-Dib will be hosting a social media workshop on March 17th. Sign up to turn your personal social media presence into a professional one and help with your job hunt. International students can join the Let's Connect online session on March 23rd. The session will teach students about government services, representation, public information, and local resources. Do you want to buff up your interview skills? Need help finding the next step in your job hunt? The Job Club can help you with any questions or issues you're facing while discovering your career path. Hussam El-Dib will host the club on March 24th and 31st. This has been your Mohawk Minute. I'm Mac Flett.
Thank you for joining us this evening and watching Ignite News COVID Edition. I'm Katrina Rathi.
And I'm Megan Daniels. Have a good night.